Good morning, everyone, or good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. It's been a while since I've done a live. Usually on the post fight, I do a video, just a regular video, 10-minute video. But I wasn't confident in being able to break down what I saw last night in 10 minutes. I mean, what I saw last night is everything that I champion for, everything that I hope for. And by the way, hit the like button if you come in and feel free to leave a comment. But I'm not going to be addressing too many comments because I don't want to lose my train of thought here. What I witnessed last night is everything I champion for on this channel, everything that I push for. When boxing is right, when boxing gets it right, there's nothing that can touch it. Nothing. And last night proved that. And I'm not going to address the stuff that's been going on outside of the ring with Wilder in this video in the past 20 months. That's been done, and it's not going away because we're going to have time to address that. We need to address a lot of the channels who have been pushing this poison through the YTBC, especially the past 20 months. And guess what? It's not going to end with Wilder because they're already, I'm sure, looking for other fighters to corrupt. So we're not going to talk about that. It's all about timing. And as a content creator, you got to recognize time. Today is the time to appreciate what these two fighters did last night in the ring. We'll have plenty of time to address the 20 months in the conspiracy theories, the allegations, the collateral damage that was done in the process to a lot of good people. And by the way, Deontay Wilder isn't the only heavyweight in history to do stuff like this. Look at how Muhammad Ali treated Joe Frazier. Look at how Jack Johnson treated Sam Langford when he became the first black heavyweight champion. It's been done by other heavyweights, but you can still appreciate what they did in the ring. And it's time today to reflect on what we saw last night and appreciate what these two warriors did for the sport of boxing last night. They emptied themselves. They emptied themselves last night. And as a boxing fan, that's all I ask for. That's all I ask for. And you know me at this point, if you've been following this channel, it's not about the wins, the loss. Of course, you want to be on top. Of course, you want to win. But it's about the adversity you go through and going through the adversity. I respect fighters like Manny Pacquiao and Chocolatito who went through the fire. I don't respect the, I'm going to keep my O. I don't respect Tank Davis staying in the damn kiddie pool, fighting Rolly Romero when there are other sharks at 135 and 140. Go to hell with that. Get it out of my face. As a boxing fan, I don't appreciate it. I don't appreciate you showing me the false advertisement that, oh, he's a champion at 140. Look at what he's done, three-weight champion. He's been in the damn boxing world for 8 years, professional. Who's he fighting? Give me guys like this. Give me what I saw last night. When boxing does it right, nothing can touch it. Two guys going for legacy. Legacy. Wilder went in there and he backed up what he said. He said, I'm going in there to knock this guy out, and I'm going to go out on my shield trying. And he went out on his shield trying. We can debate whether that's smart or not. Look, Mark Braylon saved him for another day in the last fight. Had Mark Braylon not stepped in, this would have happened to Deontay Wilder in the second fight. He would have went out on his shield, and there would have never been a Deontay Wilder going up against Tyson Fury in the third fight. So props to Mark Braylon. And look, I was critical of this fight. I wanted Fury versus Joshua, but guess what? I'm glad we didn't get it. I'm glad they didn't listen to me, because what I saw last night, man, was two guys going for it. Two guys fully understanding that this fight was about legacy. This was about legacy. It was all on the line. And when it comes down to it, man, I appreciate what Wilder did last night, but he'll always be synonymous with Tyson Fury, but he'll always be a footnote as well, because Tyson Fury came out on top again. And what it comes down to is Wilder was able to get Fury down 4 times, but Wilder was never able to keep him down. And it takes a special fighter to do what Tyson Fury did in these last 3 fights. Deontay Wilder is one of the most hellacious punchers we have ever seen. Probably the most hellacious puncher in this era. One of the biggest punchers we've ever seen in boxing. Tyson Fury ate right hand after right hand after right hand for 30 plus rounds and came out on top. Any other man in the world last night, heavyweight, you can throw UFC fighters in there. You can throw anybody in there. Any man that's living would have been obliterated, eviscerated, evaporated by the punches Wilder was landing on Fury last night. That straight right hand that Wilder landed in the 4th round, the short straight right hand, you could see, if you watch the slow motion replay, you could see the waves going down Fury's face all the way down to his body, all the way down to his legs when Wilder landed that shot. What did Fury do? Fury did what he always does. He sits on the canvas, picks up the count at 3 or 4. He doesn't make the mistake that a lot of fighters make, Zab Judah against Costa Tszyu, getting up too quick. He sits down for a couple seconds, collects himself, gets up at 8 or 9, buys himself some time. It might take a little while, might take a couple minutes, might take a couple rounds, but then he gets back into his rhythm. He finds a way. This is what he does. It takes a special fighter to be able to take those punches. He caught another right hand later that round, goes down, does the same thing. Wilder won the 5th round, in my opinion, the round after. Fury's still trying to collect himself. And guess what? 6 through 11 Wilder was catching them with shots, but 6 through 11, they were all Fury rounds. To be able to take 2 knockdowns like that from the biggest puncher in the world and then get back to boxing, walk him down. I said in my lead up that there's no adjustment that Wilder can do. He is who he is at this point. He just has to come out and swing for the fences. I was partially right. Wilder swung for the fences. But Wilder did make a couple adjustments with Malik Scott, and you got to give him credit. He came out pumping the jab, which he forgot about in the second fight. Came out punching the jab, did go to Fury's body to try to slow him down, and they realized that this is a front foot fight, whatever fighter is fighting off of his front foot is going to win this fight. When Fury was fighting off of his front foot, he was winning. When Wilder got back on his front foot, he was a freight train. And that's why Lennox Lewis, and I didn't like Lennox Lewis and Andre Ward, and I don't like Brian Kenny as a punch-by-punch guy. I think Brian Kenny belongs up in the booth. But Lennox Lewis was criticizing Tyson Fury for smothering his work and getting too close when he had Wilder hurt. But Fury was doing that out of respect for Wilder's power, because what happened in the 4th round? Tyson Fury knocked Deontay Wilder down in the 3rd round. Wilder's legs were not there, and Fury got excited and say, okay, this is what I did in the second fight. Let's get this guy out of here. Let's make this a short night. He got too confident in the 4th round. He ran out of time in the 3rd round, got too confident in the 4th round, and got caught in what's called boxing purgatory. He was not close enough to Deontay Wilder to smother Deontay Wilder's power shots, and he wasn't out of range of Deontay Wilder's big right hand. He got caught in the middle. Deontay Wilder lands that short right. When you get caught in boxing purgatory with Deontay Wilder's right hand will send you to hell. And he almost sent Tyson Fury to hell in that 4th round. Fury was hurt. But once again, Fury showing the heart of a champion. I don't think there's another heavyweight in the world that could have taken Deontay Wilder's punches last night. Those right hands flushed and got right back up and outboxed him. I don't think that person exists. Certainly not Anthony Joshua. If there's anything left of Deontay Wilder after this fight, because like I said, he emptied himself. Tyson Fury emptied himself. Both guys were in 5th gear since the 1st round. They completely emptied themselves as warriors. If there's anything left of Deontay Wilder after this fight, I still think he beats Anthony Joshua. Joshua doesn't have the chin to stand up to Wilder. Usyk, it's tough to tell. He's doing something special right now. He's 2 fights away from undisputed at heavyweight after he became undisputed at cruiserweight. If he pulls that off, goodness gracious. But it's tough to imagine a guy who's naturally smaller coming up in weight and taking those shots that Deontay Wilder can deliver flush. Tough to imagine. So you say to yourself, the 2 top heavyweights in the world went at each other for 30 rounds and Tyson Fury came out on top after being knocked down 4 times. He was a worthy adversary, turns out. And I didn't see that coming last night. I didn't. I have to be honest. I have to be honest with you. I'm honest with myself always. I look in the mirror. Did I get this right? And I expected Tyson Fury. The fight through the first 3 rounds played out like I expected. Fury's eventually going to catch Wilder. Wilder's not going to have his feet, especially with Wilder coming in at 238, which I still feel is a mistake. I feel like he should have came in 220 and lighter for his second fight and third fight. He just has trouble with stamina as the fight goes on. And the added weight, the added muscle up top didn't help, I don't feel. But the first 3 rounds played out how I expected, and I expected Fury to get him out of there in the 4th, 5th round, but Wilder came out of nowhere with that right hand. He's always dangerous, even the 10th round when Fury caught him with the right hand. Wilder drops. You think Wilder's out of there for sure now. And then towards the end of the 10th round, Wilder catches him with a right hand, spins off the ropes, and you're like, oh, Wilder's still there with no legs. That's how dangerous this guy is. He doesn't even have to be on stable foundation. He doesn't even have to have his legs there to land something to send you to hell. His legs were not there from like the 5th round on. His legs were gone. And he's still catching Fury with these shots. Look at the 4th round. Like I said, the shot that he caught Fury with, and you can see the ripples going from here all the way down. That was a short right hand. He didn't even catch him at the end of his shot. That's how dangerous this guy is. And the people who said Wilder will always be dangerous were correct going into the 3rd fight, who gave Wilder a very good shot of winning this fight, maybe even picked him. Not correct in that matter, but he's always dangerous. I thought he would have a lot of trouble setting up his right hand. I thought Fury had him figured out, but Wilder can catch you with that right hand short. He can catch you with that right hand without the foundation there. Just amazing. What I saw last night, man, is what boxing is. I was watching college football all day, and I was like, you see Alabama get upset by Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Arkansas goes down to the wire, 2-point conversion. And I'm watching it all day, and I'm like, man, if boxing could just get it right like this, like everybody would want to watch it. If they could just once a month put number 1 versus number 2 entertaining fight, everybody would be a boxing fan. When boxing gets it right, it's unmatched. Last night proved that. UFC can't touch what boxing did last night. Can't touch it. Can't even come close. The king of combat sports. Even football, as much as I love it, college football, all the great games last night couldn't touch what I saw last night for Fury and Wilder. And I was not expecting that type of fight. And I got to give credit to Wilder for exceeding my expectations. And once again, man, I see a lot of content creators out there. You got to understand timing and recognize timing. Now is not the time to don't let Wilder's terrorist, extremist fanboys get in your head right now. Let them be over there miserable. They're just going to be miserable no matter what. Just let them be. Just let them be. All right? Don't let that take away from what you saw from Wilder last night in the ring. We're going to have plenty of time to talk about the LDBC because you can't spell LDBC without the L. All right? And they're going to try to find another fighter to turn turn heel and make them as miserable as they are. And the LDBC is not going away. These guys are not going away. They're just not. They don't even have to find excuses. They're just going to move on to the next fighter. They're going to try to make everybody as miserable as they are. Don't worry about them right now. We're going to have plenty of time. Believe me, I'm going to make videos about these channels because it's time for people to go in on these guys. But we're going to have time for that. Today is about reflection. Today is about understanding that what we saw last night is what we should demand as fans. We don't worry about if this fighter has an O. Tank Davis is 25-0 with 24 knockouts. Who the hell has he fought? I don't care. He's fighting Rolly Romero in December. Oh, he's going for greatness. You have to respect. If you don't respect fighters who go for greatness, pour it all out, empty themselves like Fury and Wilder did last night, you're not going to get fights like this. You're just not. You can't put out the memes out there and, oh, Wilder, look at Wilder getting planked and all this stuff and expect other fighters to try to become the king of their division. We have to show respect, man. And yes, Wilder will always be a footnote in Fury's history. He'll always be number 2 as Fury's. And it's frustrating that Wilder couldn't just last night in the corner on the stool say, respect. Respect. You were the better man. You're the better man. We did this 30 rounds. We did this 3 fights. You won. You're the better guy. It's frustrating that Wilder couldn't do that. Hopefully he can get to that point. And whether he did a post-fight, I don't care. I've never cared about if a losing fighter, steps out of the ring without doing a post-fight interview, especially as a former competitor. I didn't want to shake hands with people who beat me. We'll deal with that later. But what these guys did in between those 10.5 rounds, in between those ropes, emptied themselves. I just can't get over it. I mean, in such a weird trilogy too, because I felt like Fury won 8 out of the 12 rounds in the first fight. I felt like he won every single round in the second fight. And I feel like he won 7 out of the 10 rounds in this fight, because I had it 95-91 on my scorecard, which means 97-93 through 10. And then you take away the knockdowns, 95-91. Wouldn't have mattered anyway, because as the fight was going on, had Wilder gotten up, he would have got knocked down again. Had he gone 12, he would have lost wide. But that's my point, is even though it was lopsided as far as how many rounds Fury won in this trilogy, you still look back and you say Wilder was a worthy adversary because of how dangerous he is at every second. And that's how much respect I have for Fury. Mentally, physically, you can't check out. You just can't check. You have to be locked in at all times. You mess up, you make one mistake against this guy. Like I said, you get caught in that purgatory, he's going to send you to hell. To be able to keep poised, to be able to get knocked down, gather yourself for a couple seconds, get back up. It takes mental toughness, physical toughness that people just don't have. He's an alien. He's an alien. People just don't have that. He's cut from a different cloth, man. Cut from a different cloth. And it's why I always get frustrated when I see these lists of toughest athletes. One year they had toughest athlete Tiger Woods because he hurt his knee and went 18 holes. I'm like, any boxer, any professional boxer is tougher than Tiger Woods or anybody else for that matter. This is the toughest sport. And when you get to the zenith, when you get to the top of the top of the top, and you get knocked down by the most hellacious puncher we've ever seen 4 times, gather yourself and still do what Tyson Fury did. Nothing but respect. Nothing but respect for Tyson Fury. And he cemented his legacy last night. He still has things to do. He still has unfinished business. I think he's going to wait for Usyk versus Joshua to play out. I understand he has a mandatory. I wouldn't even worry about the mandatory. And look, man, this is the frustrating thing about sanctioning bodies, the politics of boxing, how it gets in the way. It gets in the way of things. Nobody should be stripped at this point. Let Fury versus or let Joshua versus Usyk play out. Why Fury should be able to just sit back, let that play out, and then just go straight to undisputed. Enough with the mandatories, all this nonsense. Just think of how bad the politics of boxing is when you had a guy like Vladimir Klitschko who was as dominant as he was, dominant as any fight, dominant as Roy Jones was in the 90s. And he still wasn't undisputed at heavyweight. We haven't had an undisputed at heavyweight since Lennox Lewis. I mean, just think about that. That's how bad these sanctioning bodies are. If anybody should have been undisputed, it should have been Vladimir Klitschko. Step out of the way. Let these fighters decide it. We're this close to having an undisputed heavyweight champion. I think all of us know who that's going to be when this plays out. I just don't see Usyk or Joshua being able to handle Tyson Fury. As much as I respect Usyk and what he did against Joshua, goodness gracious, what a performance Usyk put on. But I just don't see anybody beating Tyson Fury. He just finds a way, man. He's just one of those guys who finds a way. You just have those athletes who find a way. Tom Brady being one of them. This guy right here, Michael Jordan, being one of them. They find adversity. Guess what? Game 6, Game 7, you're not going to beat this guy. You're not going to beat this guy in Game 6. Game 6, this guy has to score 50. He's going to score 50. If this guy has to get 10 assists, he's going to get 10 assists. Whatever it takes to get the victory, this guy's going to do it. Fury's cut from that cloth of Tom Brady as well. Tom Brady needs to win a Super Bowl. He's going to do it. But in order to be on a poster like this, look at this, 4 kings. This guy fights this guy. This guy fights this guy. This guy fights this guy multiple times. Some of them lose. This guy might lose to that guy. This guy might lose to that guy. This guy might even lose a couple times to several of these guys. But guess what? They're on the poster. They're on the poster. Why? Because they went for greatness and they're considered 4 kings. Look at the 4 kings at 135. How many of them fight each other? They're fighting each other with Twitter thumbs, right? Tank Davis is going to keep that O, right? 26-0. Oh, what a great legacy. Hasn't fought anybody in 9 years. Respect the guys who did what they did last night. Deontay Wilder will always be number 2 to Tyson Fury, but guess what? He was right there. He was an inch. He was a second or 2, 4 times from beating this guy. Incredible. Incredible. 4 times he was this close. 4 knockdowns. He was able to get him down. He was not able to keep him down. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. He's a worthy adversary of Tyson Fury because he has that right hand. He was able to get Tyson Fury on the brink multiple times. He was able to send Tyson Fury into 5th gear multiple times. He loses 7 rounds, but guess what? Always dangerous. It's just phenomenal, man. Phenomenal what I saw last night. And that's what sports, that's what athletics, that's what it's supposed to be. And that's the cruel thing about boxing, and it's the cruel thing about life, is you can get this close to the mountaintop. One misstep. You grab the wrong ledge, topple down. Cruel thing about life. And that's what makes boxing so great. It's such a good comparison to life. But you have to go through adversity in order to get to greatness. The problem with boxing today, as I reflect on that, is too many people want the greatness without going through the adversity. They want to be seen as a hero without having to fight fires. Too many fighters like that. Too many fighters like that. What we saw last night, unfortunately, is rare. It's something that we don't get often enough as boxing fans. And that's why today, forget all of the race wars and all this stuff that you're seeing on the YTBC and Twitter, and just respect what these guys did last night, man. Don't be miserable like them. Respect what you saw last night. Two warriors just going at it. Too many fighters just want to be known as great and legends without going through the fire. Manufactured stars. And I can name them. And I named one of them. And you know who he is. But manufactured stars. They want to be seen as multi-division champions and fight once a year, maybe twice. If you're lucky, I'll fight twice a year. And then they want you to pat them on the back when they fight twice a year. If you're going to do that, man, at least make it worthy like these guys did last night. Incredible. Incredible. And I really don't have anything else, man, besides that. It's just, I respect the hell out of what these guys did as a fight fan last night. Fury, to me, is remarkable what he's done. And I can go back. So, like, somebody was mad at me earlier in a comment. I saw it on YouTube in an old video I did. Oh, you were hating on Fury 10, 11 years ago. You probably took the videos down and all that. Deleted the videos. I remember watching Fury. It was either Max Power, Rich Power. He fought in a 4-round fight. The referee was actually the judge. Grainy. I saw it on a grainy feed. And I went on 916 Chris, rest in peace, Signs of Violence the next day, and just talked about how rough Fury looked, how green he looked. He looked like a wounded deer in there, a baby deer. He was just skating all over the ring. He was falling over himself. He looked like a mess. This is probably 2010, 11 years ago. He was just coming up, maybe 10 fights in, whatever it was. And think of how far he's come. Think of how far he's come. And when you have that pressure on your back too, he's the Gypsy King. There's a lot that comes with that, right? Heavy is the head that wears the crown, but he's lived up to it and then some. There have been some frustrations along the way, no doubt about it, things to be critical about. Going away for 3 years at his zenith. 2014, he's on top of the world. 2015 and 2018, he pretty much disappears. You wanted to see him be the baddest man on the planet, the heavyweight king, defend the belts, all that stuff. But last night, cementing that legacy, made up for it. Made up for it and then some. And I have a feeling there's unfinished business. He'll watch out for Usyk versus Joshua, become undisputed, and retire on the top. I fully believe that's what's going to happen. Respect for Tyson Fury. just unreal. I don't think people are fully grasping coming off the canvas against that monster with that power multiple times. And they give us a heavyweight classic. We need more fights like this, man, and we need more 1 versus 2, and we need more guys going for it. And yeah, I did see this comment. Wilder did break his hand again. I do believe from what I saw, he broke his hand, from what Malik Scott said. And let me touch on that one more time. I do think they came in with a good game plan, looking back at it. I do think Malik Scott is good for him as far as chemistry. I was watching him in the corner. Obviously, Sugar Hill and Tyson Fury have incredible chemistry. But I was watching both corners, and both of them were doing a good job, I felt. Malik Scott was keeping him calm, and Malik Scott was saying, look, we know what we need to do. We need to land this right hand, but don't forget about setting the plate first. He was giving him good direction. He was trying to wake him up in the corner. So I felt like the fact that Wilder came out more aggressive, started going for the jab to the body right away, then throwing some right hands to the body, they had a good game plan coming in. The best game plan that they could come up with, because there was no way Wilder was going to beat Fury over a 12-round decision, right? But they knew they had to land the big right hand. In order to do that, it was going to be a battle of the front foot. Whoever was fighting off of the front foot was going to have success. And as long as Deontay Wilder was fighting off of that front foot, he had a shot of landing and setting up that big right hand. And they did a better job of fighting off that front foot in this fight. They found ways to do it. And they found ways to do it by starting off by not forgetting about that jab. That's what sets the plate. And you almost saw the first 2 rounds. Fury's like, okay, this is going to be a battle. This is going to be a battle. You started to see him try to figure it out, use some lateral movement, and then try to figure out how to get Wilder back on that back foot. Those first 2 rounds, you saw Fury. You saw him say, okay, I know I'm in a battle tonight. This guy's bringing the jab. He's coming out more aggressive. But the question that I had when I saw that was, can Deontay Wilder fight at that pace through 12 rounds? And I just said to myself, there's no way his leg's going to hold up, especially being at 238, especially without all that bulk. His legs just are not going to hold up. And you saw it as each round went on. From the 6th round on, Wilder's legs were not there. Not there. But those first 5 rounds, man, Wilder was right there. He was right there. He was just not able to be consistent enough. And at the end of the day, those are the 2 takeaways of this trilogy. 1, Fury, master boxer, consistency, finds a way. He's a versatile fighter, finds a way. Natural boxer. He was born to be a boxer. Deontay Wilder was born to land haymaker right hands on people. He was born to lay that right hand on people. But as far as skills, natural basketball player. As far as skill, there's a huge gap in skill. But that shows you how much power Wilder has in that right hand. But the second takeaway is, at the end of the day, Wilder was able to get Fury on the ground, on the canvas, but was not able to keep him there. Got him to 8 or 9 4 times in 30 rounds. Was not able to keep him there. And that's the big takeaway. And I'm sorry for not getting to the comments. Shout out to JC, man. And I appreciate everybody who tunes into these lives and leaves comments, and up to 4,300 subscribers at this point, still getting some subscribers, even though I've been away for a while due to the hurricane and building businesses back up. Been busy with that. But watching this fight last night, watching Usyk versus Joshua a couple weeks ago, man, when boxing gets it right, and it gets me right back in the seat. It gets me right back in the seat. Football more consistent, especially college football, at being great, but when boxing gets it right, and I wish it would get it right. If boxing would just get it right once a month, 1 weekend a month, everybody would be a boxing fan, and this sport would grow. But too many times, politics, sanctioning bodies, promoters, managers, all of that gets in the way. Greedy fighters who, like I said, want to be great but don't want to go through the fire to get there. You can't remove the adversity on your way to greatness. In order to get to greatness, you have to go through the adversity. Real boxing fans, true boxing fans who follow this sport and know what's what, know what the real titles are, know what the real championships are, know who the real fighters are. They're not going to let you get away with that. Tank Davis, you're not going to get away with that. You're not going to get away with beating Rolly Romero and claiming that that's some sort of great victory. Just like you're not getting away with claiming that Mario Barrios was a great victory and you're a champion at 140. You're not going to get away with it. That legacy is not going to live up. It might work for a couple months. It might work for a couple years, but 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we'll be talking about the Pacquiaos. We'll be talking about the Chocolatitos. We'll be talking about the Tyson Furies. And we'll be talking about this fight that happened last night. This is the type of fight you tell your kids about. Oh, I witnessed this. This was up there with the great heavyweight fights, man. It just was. This was up there with it, to me. It's better than Joshua versus Klitschko. It's right up there with um, Lennox Lewis versus Vitali. Some of the great heavyweight fights that we saw in the '90s as well. It's up there. It's up there, and you can get overly critical, saying, "Oh, it was sloppy at times." All this. You were on the edge of your seat the whole time, and you knew this was a legacy-defining fight. Both of these guys knew everything was on the line. Both of these guys hate each other. True hate for each other. Did not want to lose on a personal level to the other guy. It wasn't even about belts and legacy at that point. I just don't want to lose to this guy. I don't want to lose to this guy. And I understand what you're saying, G Funky, about it's not that close. But like I was saying earlier, they fought 30 rounds and Fury probably won 23 of them. I had Fury winning 8 rounds in the first fight, all the rounds in the second fight, and 7 out of the 10 in this fight. However, I never got comfortable. I never sat there and said, Fury's got this definitively after the third round. Third round, I thought, this is it. Fury's going to get him out of there just like the second fight. But when Wilder landed that right hand, that short right hand in the fourth round, and then he was landing some hellacious right hands in between all of Fury's great boxing, I never got comfortable, especially after the second knockdown, even though it wasn't a clear flush shot in the set. It just didn't look like Fury's legs were there at the time, and he took a while to get up. And that's what he does, right? Like I said, I was reflecting on that earlier. He's not like Zab Judah fighting Costa Zoo. He's a professional. He knows he has to gather himself, take a couple seconds, because if you get up too early, your legs aren't going to be there. You're going to fall down again. And guess what? You got a 10 count. So Fury's great at that. But Wilder was dangerous. Wilder was dangerous the whole fight. You never really got comfortable in saying, oh, Fury's got this. At least I didn't. At least I didn't. Maybe some of you did earlier, even in that 10th round when he knocked Wilder down. Wilder still landed a flush right hand at the end of that round, spun off the ropes and tried to capitalize on it. I mean, Wilder was right there. Right there. To me, he became a worthy adversary last night. After the second fight, I said, I don't need to see it again because Fury's the better fighter. I don't think the third fight will be all that interesting because I feel like Fury will do the same thing again. The right hand that Wilder landed in the fourth round, to me, erased that, and he became a worthy adversary because he went out on his shield and he made this an interesting fight. This was a classic fight. It just was. It just was. So, yeah, you had him winning every round after the fourth. I believe I had him winning every round. I thought Wilder won the fifth round. I had Wilder up 3-2 after 5, plus a 10-7 round. But 6 through 10, those 5 rounds were all 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 were all Fury, in my opinion. Fury took back control of the fight. He got more comfortable. He started working on his front foot again. Like I said, this was a battle. Everybody knew. Everybody should have known this is a battle off the front foot. And I didn't think Wilder would be able to work off the front foot as much as he was able to do in this fight. But Fury, yeah, 7 out of 10 rounds, I had him winning. In 11, clearly he was going to win. Even if Wilder found a way up, which that's the amazing thing. Like if you watch the replay, Wilder was starting to try to get on his feet after that knockdown. And the ref is like, no. The ref knew Malik Scott was not going to. That's what Malik Scott was in the corner for. Deontay Wilder clearly gave him direction. Do not stop this fight. No matter what happens, I'm going out on my shield. And I got to respect Wilder for saying I'm going out on my shield and backing it up. But the referee clearly knew I got to stop this. Because this get ugly. Guys could die. You know, they could die. I'm not letting it happen. If the corner's not going to step in, I got to do it. So I felt, that's probably the only thing that we have different is I thought that I thought that Wilder won the 5th round. I didn't feel like Fury was completely back. But once he got back in the 6th round, you saw Wilder's legs were not there. The foundation was not there. He was like a wounded deer, baby deer out there. He never had his legs, but that speaks to his power in that he was still able to land big shots without sitting on his punches. That's how dangerous that guy is. So to have that mental toughness, the physical toughness that Fury has, to go 30 rounds with the guy who, if you make one mistake, one slip up, he could evaporate you. And to go through those 30 rounds, and in my opinion, win all 3 fights, incredible. Wilder has ungodly power that he was able to set up in the 1st and 3rd fights. He was able to set it up. Just wasn't enough. Just lost. At the end of the day, he lost to the better man. Tyson Fury is the better fighter out of the two. And but Wilder, he was his toughest adversary throughout the Fury legacy. So far, toughest adversary. But Usyk's gonna have a shot. Usyk's gonna have a shot at taking that crown from Wilder, because Usyk's dangerous. He's dangerous, but I don't think that Fury versus Usyk is going to be near as exciting as this trilogy ended up being. So I enjoyed the hell out of this fight. Respect the fighters. It's Sunday. Enjoy some NFL. Hope y'all got y'all's word in this morning. Got right with God. And just respect the fighters, man, at the end of the day. We'll get to the fan bases. We'll get to the fan bases. We'll get to the LDBC because, like I said, you can't spell L without LDBC. And they're going to have to hold that L and they're going to have to take that L. But they're not going away, and we're going to have to address that because they have been a plague to this community. But today is not that day. Today is the day to respect what these two fighters did. And don't throw away what Wilder did going on in the Shield last night, making this an interesting fight and a great fight, a classic fight, just because his fan base is a bunch of heathens. Being nice. I'm being generous there. But at the end of the day, man, if Braylon don't throw towel, you think he lasts as long as he did last night? I don't think he would have lasted till 11 rounds in the second fight. Fury clearly landed that eardrum shot early in that fight that just rendered Wilder basically useless. So no, I think if Braylon doesn't throw in the towel when he does, it probably goes maybe one more round. But the punishment that could have been taken in that round is dangerous. And we don't get what we got last night without Mark Braylon throwing in the towel. He saved him for another day, which is what your trainer does. So even though Malik Scott had great energy and chemistry with Wilder in the corner and throughout the training camp, and they made some proper adjustments, you still don't want to see a trainer allow a fighter to go out in a Shield like that. I feel like it could have been stopped between 10 and 11, but this is how it had to end. This is how this book, the Fury versus Wilder book had to end this way. It just had to end this way. There had to have been finality to it. There had to have been closure, and the only way we're going to get this was by a definitive knockout. By a definitive knockout. That's how it had to end. And although the worthy adversary, I think it was always going to be Wilder to go down at the end of the day and end up on the canvas. There's just a difference between Fury and Wilder and what the abuse, the punishment they can take, the mental toughness. We saw this to the lead up to the third fight outside of the ring. The mental toughness is there for Fury that Wilder just came short of. So that's just where I'm at, man. That's where I'm at with it. And I'll be talking a lot more about this fight, the fallout from it. We got a great October coming up with boxing, great November. I think we're going to have a great last quarter with boxing. So we'll be talking a lot. And I'm back, baby. I'm back. God bless to y'all. I'm out.